Hey guys, I am DM Zone. This is Gamers Oasis. Let's get into it. Hey guys, this is going to be the third season of crafting video for season 1. This one's going to be about basic wood extractors. This extractor has 5 different blueprints that work with it. And it breaks down into 2 very important but very different groups. There are timbers and then there are boards. And they actually come from 2 very different areas. None of these blueprints are universal. The boards come from Calypso, and the timbers actually all come from Arcadia. Not that all timbers are from Arcadia and all boards are from Calypso. Obviously, that's not the case. But in this particular blueprint or extractor, the blueprints come from those locations. So what does it mean to have a timber versus a board? Well, timbers drop off of creatures. These creatures range in levels. They're all found on Arcadia, planet Arcadia for the most part. I think you can find them in the underground. I think you can find them on the moon. But the bulk of them are going to be on the planet themselves. They're going to drop at different levels. Some of them are going to be harder to get to drop. Some of them are going to be a little easier to drop. It's not something for this video. It's beyond the scope of this video. When I talk maybe about that specific item, we can probably get more into it. Boards, on the other hand, are just like any harvestable tree board you can get. They're found only on Calypso, making it specific to that. But at least you can just go Calypso and harvest them. You don't have to hunt a specific mob. You don't have to worry about those drop rates and all that type of stuff. So that's a benefit. You can also generally find the Arcadia boards for sale because they're used outside of the crafting realm. They're used as part of the actual acquiring and the upgrading of the Viceroy armor. So that's both a positive and a negative. Might be not so obvious. The boards, you can find them just because people are trying to make money off of the boards when they get them. Both timbers and boards are turned into veneers, which are then used in these blueprints. There's different ways you can make these veneers. I won't get into them specifically, but it does affect the TT cost of the blueprint that is being made, which will be represented here in a little bit. So I went ahead and lumped up these 2 blueprints together, the Mollusca and the Midastri. Close. Both of these are in the lower end of the material designer, while having a lower TT cost, making them a nice middle ground to compare to some of the other stuff like stone textures like the Burkite, Nisset, and the Caldon, for example. If you're wanting to know more about those blueprints, you can look at the first video in this series where I talked about basic stone extract. Of this list of blueprints, probably my favorite or more favorite one is the Arc Ace. It has a solid 21 pec per click TT cost, so it's going to be nice to craft. It's not terrible with the craft. The lower texture requirements for the material designer is nice. Also, having a 4 pec cost when you're doing that means that you have a decent amount going into it, which means you're actually getting a decent skill return on that. While if you wanted to have this lying around, you don't have huge amounts of ped sunk into it. Also, because it's 21 pec for the click and 4 pec for the texture, there's 2 things that could be happening here. Either A, you're going to get timber or boards back, or I don't know if you can hear that vehicle that just started up. My next door neighbor has a very loud Mustang. So timber, you might get your timber back, you might get your extractors back, always nice. So you're going to get good returns on this. I hope it doesn't just all fall into like the residues and that type of stuff. On a second note, we have Fern. Fern is a level 2 BP, which unlocks the potential to get the level 5 texture blueprints. That's a nice way to step into it without having to go deep into the ped well for this. It again is a higher material designer which is a bit of a problem. So you're going to be crafting this more for the skill versus doing this for a specific, I'm going to put this on my wall, or I'm going to have, wood panel garments or whatever. At 14, that's a high mark to reach for most people. The Hika is one of the hardest ones. It comes in with the most TT per click at 31. It is a higher level texture level as well, at 9 if I remember right. Again, this is another one you probably would use to increase the material designer and texture level versus using it for a thing until you're much farther along. So let's get into the chip, shall we? So complication. Is it complicated? Well, you're looking at two different acquiring methods. The first one being hunting, which requires people to hunt something specific. They're probably going to get low amounts. I remember this when I hunted a lot in Arcadia. I didn't get heaps of it. I did stockpile it because I did see there was a good markup on it. But you're kind of at the whims. Are you going to find 1,000 of these boards? Maybe. How often? How many are you going to need? It takes 27,000 clicks to get to, a QR100 on a blueprint. It's unlimited blueprints, all 5 of these. Also, you might need more than one board or timber. So it might be even more than that initial amount. So, yeah, it's pretty complicated. The fact that you can get some from the tree harvesting, a sadly widely underused profession in Entropy Universe. A lot of people would benefit from that. Helps it some, so I'm going to bring it up from a 1.5 to a 2 because I'm pretty sure it's going to be fairly hard to find a steady supply of that unless you yourself are providing it. But at least it's on Calypso, so that is a positive. Handy. Well, though it's very specific to 2 locations, being a Planet Arcadia and Planet Calypso, and both these places are fairly good right now. It's not like you're going to Arcadia Moon per se, or the Underground, which is even more specific. Though you probably, if you're going to a Planet Arcadia, you're probably going to the Moon at this very moment because there's a lot of new content on the Moon. I would say that using this for anything other than skills probably is not going to be a thing. Unless someone specifically wants it for a specific thing, like, in their store, in their apartment, that type of stuff. But there is some variety, and that will give it some demand. I'm going to say that the Handy comes in at 2.5. It's kind of in the middle, probably closer to a 2. Item markup. This works both for you and against you. Because it is used in the Viceroy upgrades and because it is used in carpentry, you do get a little bit more markup. But at least there's also, because of the demand, often going to be more of it in there. Unlike some things that aren't used in crafting and or very specific crafting and don't really have any other uses, you're going to have a real problem with the supply. But that being said, I would put this right at 3 for item markup. It's not terrible, but it is there. Okay, so product markup. You're not really going to find a lot. The amount of people that need this blueprint are going to be very few. Most people are going to run this blueprint until they get whatever they're looking for out of it, and then they're not going to do it again. You're not going to find people wanting to do their clothes in this, except for maybe like strips of pattern or whatever. I don't think people would realize how it would look. I've seen some of like the Basilica on like clothing because people are trying to level up with it. And frankly, it looks like a very poor rendition of camouflage. It looks pretty bad. I wouldn't do the big parts of the outfit with that. My own personal choice. I'm not really a designer. It's not really my thing. Clothing, it's not really my thing, as you can tell. But yeah, so there's that. I would say that you're not going to sell the texture. You might sell to a specific person who has an order. So I'm going to bring that in at like a 1.5. There is a markup. There is a market for it. You put some in your store, it probably will sell. If you're sitting there spamming Cali Trade, you might wait a while. Who knows? Maybe you find the right guy quickly. Hopefully. I hope you get that. Okay, so scarcity. Because both these methods of acquiring require a pretty significant amount of labor. People don't really build stockpiles and then sell it like they do certain other things. Like, for example, people will collect Burkite and then sell it all together. Or they'll go collect Burkite and then just keep it on these plants. And eventually they'll all collect it all in one spot and try and offload it. I don't really see people doing that with either one of these. It weighs a lot, so you're moving slow. It's not a lot of resell, so it is going to be pretty scarce to get this stuff. I think if you had people that knew you wanted to get this, you could probably find that. And for that reason, I'm going to go with the 3.5. Because if you're hunting and you know a guy wants this particular timber, you would love to get that markup in that moment. So if you were to make yourself a dumping ground for the timber, you probably would benefit fairly well over time as people got to know that was a thing you were wanting to get. So I actually don't think it'd be that scarce once you got the word out there, once you did this for a while, once this became your thing. But would you? Let's get into that. So right now we have a 2, a 2.5, a 3, a 1.5, and a 3.5. The real question is, where does the zone element come into this? To be honest, it's a bit fidgety. Even for crafting stuff. I really don't know how often you're going to be finding people seeking this out or be willing to pay the markup on the timber and the boards. So I would probably go with a never mind. As far as would I use this beyond a certain point. However, the timber I probably would be saving just for my Viceroy armor if I was hunting on Arcadia and I was getting extra of the timber versus selling it back to the market for TT or trying to find people on the auction to buy it. Unless I had a friend who needed Viceroy armor or the upgrades, I probably would actually just save my basic wood extractors and level up my things ever so slowly, because it is such a hard one to get into. You're probably one of the few to actually ever have it. So I would probably go with Nevermind, unless you just had surplus though. Okay, so we're going to get into a little bit on the crafting results. As you can see here, I came in at 41% for this crafting session. That is a tad low in comparison to what I would want, being 42.5 or so. And we got a few blueprints, but not as many as I would like. This has a lot to do with the economy of blueprints you get on Toulon. I think that has a lot to do with it. Skill-wise in this mission, as you can see, I didn't get as much as last time, but that's not expected. It's expected to have less every time you do this mission, though there's some discrepancies with that, which I'll talk about later when that happens. But this time it was 182.3, so still getting very good machinery skill. This brings my the bulk of all my machinery professions up by 43.5% of a level since the start of doing this. It brings my carpentry, which is the least, up to a 36.25, and my vehicle engineer, which is the most, has gone up 58%. That is a heap of professions, and that's a heap of skill for 3 days worth of crafting. And that is irregardless of what level you're at. What this is saying is raising your machinery this much would raise your profession that much. So if you never did machinery and you had done all this other stuff and then you've done 3 days of this, it would raise all your professions even still by that amount. The likelihood is if you have like a 40 in vehicle engineer, you probably have a heap of machinery already. But if you somehow did it without machinery, it would increase it by that amount. Epi DeCraft is continuing to do his thing, flipping around, setting up little halos. He gained 41% of a level. I think I clicked it an extra time or so in this one. So that's pretty awesome. So as far as the other skills, you can see that I didn't get a tremendous amount. I only gained 5.11% of a level for the actual doing the 1,000-point run, which is not terribly bad, but it is not as much as we want. The totals you see in the top right hand side of this card are a running total, so it's going to build over and over and over again. So as you can see, I started this session with 6.08 worth of PED. I added to that total 3.01 PED worth of shrapnel, bringing it up to 9.09 PED, and you can see how that totals. I need to fix this. I just haven't done it. You look in the bottom right hand side, it says profit versus loss after blueprints, which you really should be doing since it's the third hunt. Go ahead and take 60 out for that. So my overall for running this blueprint 3 times means I have come out positive 3.38 PED, which is actually pretty amazing. That will not always be the case, but I've done pretty well so far. You can see Epi DeCraft. He's over 3rd level now. That is pretty sweet. Okay, so we're going to talk about my ammo looter for the hunting side of things. I gained 3.54 of a level, which is not a lot of percent. This is a 150 PED hunt. In this case, I'm hunting the Guardians, the Dominants, and the Alphas. That's where I'm breaking this group. Mocots, if you haven't seen yet, break nicely into really 4 groups. So this is the middle high group, and then there's the high group, which comes after this, which is still not terribly high for mob-wise, but it's the high for these particular mobs. This was a really nice sweet spot, I felt, for a lot of things, even though this hunt didn't necessarily show that. You can see here I gained 0.57 of a level. That's less than 1% of a level. These things were dying pretty quickly. I didn't actually take a lot of hits. Therefore, my evader didn't go up. I didn't complete the Mocot stage missions, so I didn't actually get any of the bonus evader skill from that. If I were to do this again, I probably would have separated all that gain separately, but that would have been a lot of work and looking back on it, because I completed these missions several times. But it would paint a lot more clear of a picture of what was going on. Laser sniper went up by 6.49%. Shot my laser a lot. Shooting the AR-15. For me, at that point in time, that was good skill gain. As you can see here with my ranged laser damage, I gained 4.5% of a level. That is actually pretty good. Again, not as much as I would like, but I'll take it. Paramedic, I didn't really get any skills from healing myself. I really didn't take a whole lot of hits, so all the skills I got were from shooting my weapon and evading some attack. All right, so you can see here I fought Guardians, Dominants, and Alphas. Here's my first card. I used 12.17 PED worth of my AR-15. That means you can get over 250 PED hunts with an AR-15. I did have some weapon attachments on there. Again, it's the Bullseye 8s 2x2 and the Long Range 4. All of these are unlimited. Going into my secondary loot card, you can see here I have quite a bit of ammo oil residue. Ammo muscle oil still dropping. I got less ammo hides than I have in the past. That actually tends to trend that way. The higher the mobs went, the less ammo hides I got. I did get some more tier 1 components, more socket 1 components. I got some more paints, as you can see. I got yellow and green. These paints do change as you go farther into this. As you can see, there are other entries. I got a decent amount of basic cloth and basic leather extractors, so this is not a bad place at all for that. I got some high-speed control and focus lens components, which is nice. I got a fairly reasonable amount of Mocat hides again, and a little bit of the hands. Okay, so Kuhoff 1. Kuhoff 1, you know, I gained some shrapnel, I gained some Mercil tokens, I gained some animal muscle oil. All of this was within the standard amounts, shall we say. I gained a little bit of tab hides, but not many. Nice, I got some surface hardener components, and I got a heap of animal eye oil, which is just TT. The most important thing out of this, though, is I got some more carpet fragments, red. So, Kuhoff 2. You can see here, I got pretty much my head back. As far as the basic stuff, I actually went fairly profitable on this. Between the animal eye and the animal oil residue and the shrapnel, and frankly, even the Mercil tokens, that was a nice amount. But the Zen bag tincture, that is a item I'm actually going to do a very specific video on by itself at some point in time in the future. That is an uber rare item. When I say extremely high markup, that 15 peck worth of item is probably close to 20 ped, 25 ped. It is an incredibly high markup on that. Okay guys, so if you want to see more videos like this, please like, subscribe. Let me know in the comments down what you think down below. I'm debating on reducing the length of this by separating out the Mocat hunt from the crafting. I would still do the Kuhoff report though in the crafting portion, just because I think it would make it too confusing to do that if I did that. But it would make it into two 15-minute videos, 10 minutes probably for the Mocat hunt, and a 15 to 20 minute for the crafting one. Let me know what you guys think down below. It would make it different while actually making the videos. But I think there's a lot of people that aren't really into hunting. They want the crafting, and there's a lot of people into the hunting that don't want the crafting stuff. So anyways, just let me know. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. See you guys next video, and keep her in that pet.